Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, how to navigate the ups and downs of life with kids on your own while keeping sane. We cover all manner of subjects from domestic violence, dealing with childhood trauma, through to fussy eaters and how to help your kids become resilient. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. Hi, welcome back for part 2 of my interview with Graciela Ramon Michel. Graciela is a mother of 3, one of whom was diagnosed with severe autism some 36 years ago. From the age of 1, her eldest was different from the other children, and she tirelessly searched to find out what was wrong, and after 4 years were told he was autistic. During this time, she left her addicted husband and found herself alone with little to no support. Feeling rage, loneliness, exhausted, overwhelmed, confused, disconnected and stressed, she had to support her children emotionally and financially. She worked 15-hour days until one day, after being sexually harassed by her boss, she decided that she couldn't continue living the life she was living and sought help. This is part 2 of that episode. Graciela, how are you? Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire, for having me here. Thank you so much.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Look, wow, crikey. I've just gone through the intro and everything that you've been through. Tell us about this. What you've been through with your eldest son and what went on, what your journey was with him. Because I've only briefly touched on a few things, but it sounds like a hell of a roller coaster.
I can tell you a little bit from the beginning in reality, because everything has started from the beginning. Wow.
So when did you first notice that he wasn't quite the same as some of the other children?
Actually, when he was 1 year old. I was pregnant by that time with my second son, Federico. And I say, he needs some stimulation. He needs to do something. He's by himself all the time with me. So I decided to take him to a kindergarten, or a kind of play group, And he wasn't playing with any kids. He was at the corner, sitting, played by himself and nothing. He wasn't interacting. So suddenly, the teacher and a psychologist, they said to me, I think he's not deaf because he can hear us. However, he's not interacting anytime with anyone. And I thought, here is something wrong. So I started to read. By that time, internet, you have to think about, Martin is turning 40 in 5 weeks. So by that time, internet didn't exist. So I needed to go to the library to seek some understanding what was happening. The doctor didn't say to me, he said, he's growing quite well. We don't know what is happening with him, blah, blah. So I started to seek, to go to library and trying to read and read and read. So there I discovered autism.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Autism for me didn't exist.
Yeah, and also, like you said, there's no internet. We can't Google. It's 36 years ago. So
no, that was
it would have been
39
longer.
years ago.
Yeah. So 39 years ago, it was only just being born.
Correct. So, and all the characteristic of him was ticking boxes, So I mentioned to the psychology of this place. They have a big kindergarten and a psychologist there. And she said, you don't have any idea the words you are saying at the moment. Because when I say to her, I think my son is autistic, she thought that I was totally nuts.
Wow.
So anyway, by that time, I was having problem with my husband. So I used to go to a psychologist. And my psychologist used to have a colleague who was a psychology for children. And I say, I beg you, I would like her. Can you ask help? I need her to stimulate my son, Martin. And they say, no, he's too little. He's only 1 year old. No. I begged so much that after like 4 or 5 months begging them, the lady decided to start stimulating Martin. They didn't know. They say maybe he has emotional shock or something. They didn't know what he was having. So anyway, to tell the story short, from that time, my journey started with him. I started to go to psychology, I started to go to neurology, psychiatry, everything that I can touch, I was taking him against my husband's will.
Wow.
He didn't want me to do that. So it was very, very hard for me.
So you basically didn't have any support from your husband, and then were you then waiting for your husband to go off to work to then take your child to all of these different appointments and things?
A lot of money.
And were these appointments costing you any money at the time?
Money. I was earning money.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a lot of money because you have to think about mental illness wasn't covered by that time. No way. It was only for rich people, mental illness.
Well, exactly. But really the tests and things like that regarding autism now, ADHD, all of those sort of things has improved so much. Like 39 years ago, I mean, I wasn't aware of any autism or anything like that, or, there was, we just didn't have it. ADHD didn't really, I didn't know anyone at school who had ADHD and stuff like that. So, wow. And so what did you do? You were just begging people to test him. Exactly. And were there any tests at the time?
By that time, one of the most famous person in Argentina said to me, he was 2 years and a half. He said, I think he has emotional block. That's it. That was his diagnosis. Nobody was telling me nothing. He was a neurology, very well known there. Number 1 in Argentina by that time. So anyway, I continue. By that time, I separated from my husband. My situation with him was very hard to live with because he was addicted to morphine.
Wow.
So it was...
So not only living with a autistic child, and I suppose by then, so an autistic child who wasn't diagnosed, so you didn't really have any solutions or any, you didn't know what was wrong as such. I suppose by then you also had son number 2 and dealing with your addicted husband.
It was not,
which is...
Yes, sorry to interrupt, Claire,
yeah.
But it was 9 that Martin used to hit his head against the wall. And my husband sick because of all of the medication he used to put inside his body. So looking after my son, looking after him, and looking after the poor little one that he was beautiful. Federico was, beautiful. And he used to look at his brother during the night in his coat, how he was hitting himself on the wall, on the window. So I didn't used to sleep at all. So I couldn't live. So I decided to separate from him. I took him to court, and it was very hard because he didn't want to leave the house either. So anyway, to make a story short, my husband, obviously, because he didn't want to get separated, he didn't support me financially. So I needed to work more and more and more.
Oh my gosh.
I was by myself with 2 years old, 2 years and a half, and Martin, and only 13 months, Federico.
Wow.
So thank God I have a father that he was financially okay. So he helped me with the house and to bring some food to the table, because all of the treatment that Martin was having by that time, taken to the occupational therapy, to the psychology, everyone to try to stimulate him, was costing me fortune. So it was every penny that I was earning, it was going to his therapist.
And you were working as well at the time, were you? So your youngest child, who was 13 months, where did he go? Did he go with family, or
he used to go to a kindergarten around the corner? And when he was 2, he used to say to me, "Mom, don't worry about me. You go to work and earn a lot of money." And he was so sweet.
Shame, what a cute
Don't
kid.
worry. I do remember he was so little, It was so beautiful to see. It's like I can see him say to me that.
And then your eldest son, was he going to kinder as well while you were working?
He was going to the kinder. In the meantime, I was working, and I used to have a housekeeper as well.
Oh, okay.
So I used to have someone at home.
Wow. And were you doing like just the one job, or did you have several jobs, or what were you? How were you?
By that time, I used to have two
jobs. Wow.
Then I will tell you later, because I ended up having 3 jobs at some time to maintain my life, because it was very expensive. Obviously, every treatment for Martini was expensive. So I started to travel around Argentina to find an answer. And I went, people were coming from Brazil, from France, and I was visiting all of the therapists. They were coming from everywhere. When Martin turned 4, I went to Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina. I wasn't living there. I was living 1,200 kilometers away. So, and I went to see a neurology and psychiatrist. So this doctor said to me, "Your son is autistic." The moment he said, "Your son is autistic," even though I knew as a mother instinct, I knew he was. I was in such a shock.
Wow.
Suddenly, I was as autistic as Martin. I left the office, his office, and really I started walking with Martin. I do remember what kind of clothes he was wearing. I remember like it's today. So this is 36 years ago. I started to walk and walk and walk. We crossed Avenue. We were almost run over by a car because I didn't know where I was. I was totally lost. We walk and walk and walk. This beautiful boy next to me, holding my hand. And the night came, and really, I was in shock. I was by myself, totally shocked, totally lost, angry, saying to myself, "Why me? Why him? Why us?"
Yeah, I can, yeah.
He was such a beautiful, gorgeous boy. And I knew that this was going to be forever, a challenge forever. Because he was getting worse. He wasn't getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine it would have been a shock. I suppose you were living with it for those 3 odd years until he was 4, until he actually got that diagnosis, but you just weren't sure in your head until somebody actually said it to you. And then you just went through all of those different emotions. And it's funny you should say that, because I've spoken to a couple of parents who have autistic children on the podcast, and they are very their reaction was very similar to yours. Like, why me? What have I done wrong? Have I done something wrong? Was it my diet? Was it where I lived? Was it my environment? Was it my partner? What was the reason that my son or my daughter, why are they autistic? Is it something I've done?
By that time, you have to think about that. They used to say that autistic kids they have autism because the mother is not connected with the child the minute they are born. So my guilt was huge. Then they started to investigate a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. But by that time, autistic kids from a totally disconnected mom. The moment, yes. And the moment I received the diagnosis was the moment I totally disconnected from myself. That is the difference. It was totally the opposite,
Exactly. And all the time up to the diagnosis, all you were doing was fighting for your child. So how you could be disconnected from him, that's just an insane reasoning, isn't it?
So the journey started, the city where I live, it was a small city, it wasn't the capital. So all of the treatment, it wasn't in one place. So I had to take to the psychology, to the occupational therapy, to the music therapy, to everything. And it was a nightmare. So my father, by that time, built a beautiful house for me to live in with my children. Beautiful. He went into debt for me to build that beautiful house. Wow. I lived only 6 months there, but I decided I cannot live here. This is not good for me. It's not good for my child. My family and my friends, they were started to distance from me because it was so hard to deal with my situation. Martin was very hyperactive, full on, and they couldn't see me, and neither him suffering the way so the people started unconsciously started to distance from us. So I was feeling more isolated. So I decided to go to Buenos Aires to live, and I rented the beautiful house my father built, and I rented for 3/4 of the value of that house. I rented an apartment in Buenos Aires to seek help, a treatment for him in one place. So, and that means that I needed to find a job to pay for all of the bills as well. So I was covered with the rent of my house. I was covered for the hospital, but I needed to leave. So, and my father wasn't happy with my decision. My family wasn't happy with my decision because my father went into debt for me, and then I decided to leave. So anyway, I found a shop, a fantastic shop, said everything comes, the universe sent to you. When you are in a dark hole, believe me, when you believe that things are going to happen. I found a fantastic shop. Yeah. That it was only 7 blocks from my house. So it was fantastic. I was earning good money, but I had to work long hours to earn those good money. Wow, so yes. I used to go 9 o'clock to work and come back at 7 o'clock home. And I used to take one son to kindergarten, the other son to the hospital, and me to work. And from work, they used to give me lunchtime to go to pick up my son for kindergarten to take to they used to have a kindergarten to look after the employee children. So it was fantastic. So he was from 12 to 7. Federico was from 12 to 7. And Martin was in the hospital. But the hospital finished 1 or 2 o'clock. So I have to pick up him, bring home, so to have some occupational therapy at home to look after him until I was coming back. That was costing me fortune.
Lots of money and lots of juggling though, because like 2 children and like, definitely.
Thank God it was all close distant because Buenos Aires is huge. It's a huge, but I was blessed by that. So, and even Martin, I do remember he used to stand up in front of the clock at the time it was supposed to me to come back from work.
Shame.
He was
shame. So you were in a big city, so it'd be like going from, I don't know, Melbourne to Sydney, basically. We had no family, and you had the 2 children. One was a autistic baby or boy or toddler, really, toddler now. Your other son, did your other son have any autism or anything like that? No, so your other son was fine. And there's you working to pay to live and bring food in, as well as pay all the medical bills and things like that as well. But that really wasn't like your journey still could, I mean, that wasn't like a bed of roses and everything happy, because like your eldest son started to get older. And what started to happen when he started to get older?
Yes, thank you for asking. He was starting to get more aggressive. He is non-verbal severely. He was considered the second more severe case in Argentina by that time. So he was full on, hardly able to handle, to the point they used to call me every time I work to come to pick him up because they couldn't handle him.
Wow. So doubly hard for you.
They couldn't have. So I was continuously disturbed by the institute he used to go, the hospital he used to go, because then he started to change because nobody was coping with him. So I need to change him from one place to the next. It was a nightmare. I was living like a zombie, like a ghost, because it was one problem after the other. I wasn't smiling. I was totally depleted, angry, feeling guilty of everything, totally disconnected to me and totally disconnected. I used to take the kids to every activity, but I was like a zombie. I was living by default. I need to do this. I was doing. I was working as well. By that time also, I was studying to get promoted, to earn more money because the cost of living was so high over there. So
it was just relentless. It sounds to me as though it was relentless, and there was just no break for you. There was just no like. Because did the children see their dad at all?
No.
Did their children?
No.
Because of his addiction and things like that. So you had the children 24/7.
He was in that bad stage that his mother and his sister, they knew where I was living, but they weren't telling him because he was kind of dangerous by that time. So
yeah. So there was no break for you. There was no like going, I'm going to have a couple of hours to myself, because the only chance you got to have to yourself was when you were working, I suppose, which is very much like a lot of single mums. I mean, me included, in the fact that, I get time to myself when my son's at school, because other than that, I have him 24/7 now. So yeah. Apart from play dates. So son number 1, your eldest son, he basically was going to various different places, but they couldn't handle him, and they were experienced in dealing with autistic children.
Yes.
But they couldn't handle
him. Exactly.
So you were then having to move him to somewhere else that was experienced. And they couldn't handle that.
I always was constantly looking for someone to handle Martin.
Wow.
All the time, because nobody was able to handle him. It was very hard. It was very hard. And by that time, also, I was harassed by my boss sexually.
Crikey.
So I thought, this is enough. I don't know.
Yeah, just all of that just on top of everything else. It's just like, so how did you deal with that as well? Because, like, you know, you're needing this work, you're needing a job to pay for everything, to put food on the table. You're managing stuff with your eldest son being moved from institute or, you know, institute to institute because they couldn't deal with and handle him. And he's also growing, right? So he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because he's not a small man, is he? I mean, he's a man now. He's 40.
He was very tall all the time. He was taller than the kids his age. Always taller. So it was getting very, very, very hard for me. So I started, even though my money, I used to hardly have any money left. So, and I thought, I cannot seek a therapy for myself. All the money goes to Martin, you know, or for us to eat. I decided, no, I'm going to do something for myself. I cannot continue this way. I need support. I am totally alone in this. I was feeling so lonely.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Oh my goodness. So I thought, what can I do? So the only way I found, I started trying to find a therapist, and it was very expensive, because now we can afford better today. Believe me, by that time, everything was very expensive. So I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is to eat once a day. And all of the money I save in eating is going to go to my therapist. I lost 12 kilos.
Oh my God.
I was so skinny. I was like a stick because I never was bigger. So I was so skinny that people, they thought that I was anorexic. You know,
my gosh.
I was so skinny dealing with the kids and working full time and hardly eating anything. I was hardly eating anything because all of the food, all of the money of the food was going to the therapist. But believe me, after 3 months, I was promoted. Give me a goosebump to think again. I was promoted. I made the effort. I thought, I need something for me. I need to look after me. I need to do something because I cannot deal with the kids. I cannot deal with all of what is happening. Anyway, I was promoted. I was able to come back to eat. I was able to pay for my therapy. So I was so committed to look after myself. And I started to think, oh my goodness, now I understand. Now I understand. When Martin got the diagnosis, the first that should have sought help, it was me. No immediately seek help for him. Because all of the treatment that Martin was getting, it was going down the drain. Because his mother wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. So from the minute I started to be supported, to have some help, not to feel so lonely, so angry, with so much resentment, so frustrated, I started to improve. However, Martin's behavior was getting worse and worse and worse. I was able to connect with him because he started to look at my eyes. Believe me, until that time, Martin wasn't looking at my eyes. When I used to talk to him, he was always looking around, but never
looking
to my eye.
around.
And suddenly he discovered me. And he looked at my...
Because you'd gone and got therapy and looked after yourself, and sort of you then were in a place where you could help him as such, and you weren't just surviving.
Put it. Very well put it, Claire. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was very connected, and I was more in tune with my heart. And I was, and I look at him. I do remember we were on the floor, and he suddenly did this and looked at my eyes.
Wow!
It was like a full connection.
Yeah.
It was beautiful connection. So he continued with treatment. He was getting more aggressive with his all his kids that they were receiving some treatment as well.
Because was he at home with you still? Like he was still staying at home with you, like at night and things like that, and all of those sort of things.
Yeah. And Federico was losing his hair. So one day I decided to take him to the dermatologist to find out what was happening that he was losing his hair. And he said to me, Federico was only 8 years old. And he said to me, Mom, can we go to have a coffee after the doctor? Yes, no problem. Let's go to we can go for a coffee. And we went. We left the doctor and we went half block, I do remember today as well. And we went to have a coffee with him. And he said, what would you like to have, Mom? And I say, I want a coffee. Can I ask for a Coke and a toast sandwich? Yes, go ahead. He was only 8. So he was like a man ordering to the waiters, can you bring a coffee for my mom and a Coke and a toast sandwich for me? He was beautiful. And he started to say to me, Mom, I want to know. Bring me a lot of emotion. He said, Mom, Martin is going to recover. Is he going to get better? And he said, Mom, I need time with you. Because
he felt that you were using all of your time to try and look after his elder brother, and he didn't resent that, but he really just wanted time with you, and he was happy for you to look after his elder brother if he was going to get better. But if he was just going to stay as he was or get worse, then he wanted some of your time as well.
I say to him, he may get a little bit better, but never is going to be like you.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Mom, what about you think about leaving him in some place a little bit longer the day I come from the school earlier, so you can be with me? He was organizing all of this. It wasn't coming from me. That is what bring me sadness. Because it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from him.
Yeah. In fact, it almost seems when you're telling me, it almost seems like he'd had to grow up quickly because of your situation and circumstance, because his brother had autism. You know, you were working lots. He basically was like, right, well, I need to become the man of the house as such. I need to take on and help Mum because, you know, my brother, you know, we've got my brother and, you know, I love my brother, but like we have to look after him because he can't look after himself, or he thinks about things differently to how I do. And therefore we need to just make sure he's safe and, you know, doesn't put himself at harm.
Incredible. He was incredible. So he organized and said, I can try I don't promise you. I will give it a try. And he say, and one night maybe we can go out as well together to have dinner together. So Friday was our night together, and I planned someone to look after my. So I always was trying to find ways, because I was looking after my children by myself without any family close by. My family was living 1,200 kilometers away. So
yeah, exactly. And also, I don't think people actually understand the challenges of having an autistic child as well, because it's like you don't feel like you can take them. Like, it's not like you can take your child out to a restaurant and sit down and have a normal meal with them. I mean, talk to me about those sort of situations. Like, what was it like actually having your eldest son and like going shopping? Or, I mean, could you do that?
Impossible. Go shopping, impossible. When we used to go out to the street, sometimes he used to get so overwhelmed by the noise of the cars, by all of that he started to pull off my hair or drag me to the floor, or beating me, because he couldn't cope with the noise and with everything, with all of the people in the city. So it was very stressful. Just
like too overwhelming for him. And therefore, so how would you get through doing normal, and I say normal things, but how would you get through shopping? Because there's no click and collect where you are, is there? There's no,
it wasn't by that time.
There was no ordering online and getting it delivered, so you didn't have to go shopping. Like, you'd still have to go to the shops. You'd still have to do stuff like that. So how did you get through with all of that?
I was lucky because in Argentina you can have housekeepers, so the housekeeper
of course,
to do that.
Yeah.
So I was lucky with that. So she used to go to do all the shopping because I couldn't go to shopping with him. So I was staying all the time with him. However, me trying to find out things, I started to take Federico to play golf, to start learning to play golf, because I thought, this is a good way where we can be in open line with both of them. So I started to take Federico to practice golf, then to take both of them to a golf course, to a very far away one that where no hardly anybody used to go to that golf course because it was too far, it was new, not many people knew it about this golf course. So I used to take Federico and Martin.
Okay.
So Federico used to hit, I used to hit my ball, I used to make Martin to sit down, hit, and then continue. And he was a little bit calmer.
Yeah.
He used to have some meltdown there, but they weren't as often as it. So it was the only way we could enjoy something now outdoor, because we couldn't enjoy anything. It was always me looking for places where nobody was around, where I could be with both of them. But it was very sad.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, what did you do at weekends and when you weren't working?
Inside the house.
Yeah. Because you
most of the Federico was taken by other mothers.
Oh, okay.
They always invite him. Always.
Yeah.
Always. He's still friend with the same friend since he was 5 years old. So he's still, and the mother, they were so kind with him, but I was inside the house with Martin all the time. Until I discovered where to go with him, that it wasn't so much stimulation and he could cope with this. So, but even though he was getting taller, he was 190.
Wow.
So he was so tall, and the strength of a King Kong, it was so high.
Oh, yeah, because like at the end of the day, like he's becoming a teenager, like, I mean, it's, autistic children, 7, 8, 9, 10, they start to grow up and they start to become autistic adults. And he is now an autistic adult. So that's a whole different challenge because, well, I've only ever seen you sitting down, but I don't know how tall you are. But but like, as a mother, you're then dealing with an adult man who potentially is having a meltdown because of he's oversensitized by noise or by people or whatever, and like that must have been very difficult and very hard for you to actually deal with. Like, I mean, it's not too bad when they're like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 even maybe, but then when they start to get a lot older and a lot bigger and they're the same height as you and then they're taller than you and they're bigger and they're stronger than you, I mean, how did you deal with that then?
It was getting worse and worse. What I haven't told, that by the age of 11, he needed to be medicated because nobody was coping with him. Against me, because I don't like medication at all. I never took any Panadol, anything. I coped with everything. The way I coped with myself, it was I learned meditation. Once I sought help, I learned how to meditate, how to create a space for myself. The bathroom, it was my sanctuary, my bathroom.
I know, I can, yeah.
Oh my goodness, it was the place where I used to cry, the place where I used to breathe, the only place, because Martin was going to my room everywhere. Where he didn't used to go, it was to the bathroom to bother me. So it was the only place. And really, he started to be medicated by 11 years old, but by 14, the medication wasn't helping him either. So everyone was telling me, please, you need to find a place for him. You cannot go, you cannot continue living this way.
Were you scared for your life as such? Yeah. I mean, and were you scared for Federico as well? Because I mean, like
he never was aggressive. He used to bother Federico a lot.
Well, that's just being
and Federico was getting very anxious and stressed because he used to turn on the light and turn off and go to his room and laughing about him getting very angry at him.
And was that one of the reasons that Federico was losing his hair, was because he was getting stressed by the situation?
Exactly, because he used to steal the food from Federico play, and Federico used to be, my food is my food. He used to steal food from everyone, always constantly on the go, always doing this, and always, it was no peace inside the house. It was constantly. So Federico obviously was getting very stressed, and I needed to look after Federico. I needed to look after myself. So I started to try to find an institute where he could go and stay there. Believe me, I couldn't find anything. Wow. Out of guilt, nothing was good for Martin. Nothing was good. But got to the point that even he wasn't allowed into a plane where I used to go to visit my family. They didn't allow him to get to the plane because they already knew him. So he was going through it.
So basically you couldn't fly with him because if he had an episode on the plane, I mean, things like that they just wouldn't allow him to be on the plane. No. Wow, okay.
Oh, he always was bothering all the passengers. They knew him. Yeah. And also, it's a long story.
But that's a challenge for you as well, though, because you're just, I mean, what did you find? And I know this is one, this comes up time and time again with parents of autistic children. How did you find other people reacted to your son and the situation that was going on around, and then how did you feel about that?
Some people, I remember a mother say to me, don't bring your son to the park.
Wow.
All the time rejection. It was constant rejection.
Yeah, that's hard.
You know, and anyway, and he has an episode. I went to visit my family by car, and he has a terrible episode on the road. He almost destroyed the car, and I was by myself with Federico. So, and then I have to continue driving. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it. So I decide, okay, enough is enough. I cannot continue this life. I have to ask for someone strong to come to help me, to fly him to the city where my parents live, to help me to bring him back to the city where we were living and to start finding a place where he can stay. And I find it.
Yeah.
But that was another starting journey, because every time I used to go to visit, I used to cry. My life turned upside down at that moment.
Yeah.
It was.
So was he in that institution like full time then? So you and Federico were at home, and
from Monday to Friday.
Oh, okay. And then you got him back at the weekends as such.
Yeah, inside the house. When I wasn't working, he was at home. But
yeah. But so did they also have him overnight in the week?
Yes, and they used to call me to come to make him to fall asleep, because he was disturbing all the people inside.
Because he wouldn't go to sleep unless you were there as such.
No, and yes, I learned how to calm him down. I learned so many techniques. I always finding a way. By that time, I was in therapy already, like maybe 8 years. I was already in therapies, and I was very supported, and I learned technique, how to support myself, even when he was having meltdown, because it was important.
Oh, yes.
And not to try to change it, because also this is very important. What happened as a mother, we want to stop the meltdown. And what we do is it become worse, because when we are trying to stop the meltdown, they become more aggressive, and it's no ending. But once I started to support myself and be there for him, even though he was biting me or pulling off my hair, and I was like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. His meltdown started reducing.
Yeah. And this is, I think, what people don't understand. Like, people who don't have autistic children don't understand that it's not that you're not parenting and not looking after your child, reprimanding them or whatever. It's because they're having a meltdown and they need to work through whatever they're working through. And I know completely what you mean regarding other parents, in the fact that they do judge the parent and say, can't you control your child? Can't you teach your child to do? And you're like, well, hang on a minute. I've got an autistic child. This is not how they work, right? They work differently. They're awesome in other aspects, but they work differently from your child. So I need to parent differently. And this is what I think parents, and we're talking for your situation, we're talking like 30 odd years ago, really now. And 30 odd years ago, my heart goes out to you, because 30 odd years ago, nobody really knew about autism, like I said, and ADHD and things like that. I mean, nowadays, we are more aware of it. There are a lot more children being diagnosed with autism. And I suppose we know a lot more about how to deal with those situations. And I know myself, my son isn't autistic, but I know myself that I'm a lot more forgiving and a lot more, I have a lot more empathy for other people whose children aren't necessarily doing what my child would do, because that child might be autistic or that child might have ADHD. And therefore, it's about actually not judging that parent and actually going, they're doing the best they can. And this might be the best thing that they can do for their child, is to let them rip raw, because controlling and doing like exactly what you've said is worse, because it just escalates the situation.
Escalate the situation, build up the situation. So what I learned by that time, how much better I was becoming as a person. How much more compassion, less judgment for others, how much empathy I was having. And I thought, my son is a gift for me.
Yes.
He's a gift. And instead of to see me as a victim, I started to see myself as gifted.
Yes.
That I was blessed. And I start living more in gratitude. I start to be grateful for the water I can drink, grateful for those 5 minutes in the bathroom, grateful for looking at it, to have the eyes to be able to see a flower, grateful to have a show, grateful to whatever it was, I was constantly. So once I stopped tapping into gratitude constantly, our life started to shift.
Wow.
I was living more in peace. I was happier. I was calmer with Federico and even with Martin. I wasn't getting so frustrated, I used to yell at them. I was more calmer.
So you were moving from that frustration and that anger and that why me situation through to thank you, it is me, because it's made me appreciate the simple, the simple things in life, like water, like a roof over our heads, like food on the table as such, all of those things.
Food on the table. It was a warm water, electricity. I was starting to be grateful for things that you take for granted, that we all take for granted, that I did take for granted as well. So really my mind shift, my heart shift. It was amazing. I was calmer. I was, seeing the challenge as an opportunity, not as a problem. So what I did, instead of, I wasn't fixing problem, I was fixing my thinking.
Yeah.
So the problem was fixing by itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I fixed my thinking. I stopped, like I say, I cannot cope. I cannot do this. This is enough. But because I started to look after myself, not only physically, emotionally, going to the therapy, creating that space, then I started to go out to leave the house every 2 or 3 months for 36 hours. I used to find a way, Martin, to be looked after, and Federico. So I could go for 36 hours exactly to go to a hotel close by.
Wow.
Just for me. Just for me to read, to be with myself. Just to go out for dinner. Sometimes I was having a boyfriend. And sometimes
and that's how it should be, like as such. If that's what you want, that's all good, Yeah, exactly.
I have those 17 years that I was divorced, I have 3 beautiful boyfriends, really. They have a lot of patience with me, a lot of patience, but they used to live outside. They didn't know the nightmare exactly that I was going. I was trying not to get it. One of him, yes, because he knew me since I was 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway, my life started to shift. I started to start looking after myself. However, all the stress on me, putting Martin into an institute, and all of the stress that I went through for such a long time, 16 years of his life, has to pay in some way. I was crying. His room was empty, and for me, that to know that he wasn't going to come back home to live for every day with me anymore, and to accept the reality of us, it was very hard. So I got very sick.
Wow, did you?
And almost passed away.
My gosh.
And the doctor, they only say to me, it's all related to stress. We cannot find anything wrong with you. I was 10 days in intensive care, but my body collapsed of stress. It was the moment that I was starting to relax.
Yeah.
You know,
because I suppose he was away at night and you were starting to relax and not actually have to deal with stress of everything every single day, that your body then said, right, time to recoup or not.
Recuperate. Yeah. It has to explode from all of the stress and reveal again, you know, because that is one of the reasons why I am helping parents with special needs kids. I don't want them to go through. I want what I went through. They don't need it. The first that need help are the parents, not the kids. The parents are the one who need support from the beginning of the diagnosis, not to leave the parent. I am amazed that this is still happening today.
Yeah.
That the parents, the doctor doesn't say, please, you need some support, you need to seek some help first to find out some clarity how to handle this situation that is going to be challenging for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, so you can be there, present for your child. Not only for that child, for the sibling.
Yes,
because
exactly.
The one that they pay a hard price, believe me, Claire, are the sibling.
Yeah.
Federico paid a very hard price.
Well, they have to grow up a lot. They can't be just like a normal child as such, because they have to grow up a lot quicker. If you're dealing with, you know, an autistic brother or sister, you've got to deal with those situations. And there are some really, really awesome, and I'm thinking of one particular TikTok brother and sister who's her eldest brother is autistic and she's the sister, and they do TikToks together, and it's just awesome. And I can't think who they are, but I can't think of their name at the moment, but it is awesome. And I love both of them on TikTok, and I think he is awesome. He's great. But he's not well, he may be aggressive and violent, but and I don't know because it doesn't come across on the TikToks, but like he does think about things in a different way, and it does make you laugh, but it also, you have to see how the siblings adapt. They have to adapt and they have to adjust. It's not like having a normal annoying brother, God love my brother, but a normal annoying brother who throws things at you, or, you know, like just annoys you by switching TV channels at the wrong time, or, you know, it's not like that, because they're wired differently.
And the problem here, the sibling doesn't get the parents. They are not there for them. It's always the other. It's always the one that has more needs. So we are not looking after the needs of the rest of the sibling. So we need to have a balance in ourselves in order to give the best to all of them and to give the best to us, to create, because self-care is not self-indulgence. Self-care is self-preservation. It's what we need to understand as a parent of special needs kids. We need to look after ourselves first in order to be there for our children.
Yeah, no, too right.
If we don't look after ourselves, we cannot be there for them. Remember the analogy in the play.
Yeah.
First, put your air mask first for you.
Yes,
and
that's
then...
right. And then do the children as such. So with everything that you've learned and experienced, right? So you came to Australia, which was very bizarre situation. But you came to Australia, and then like, have you? What are you doing now? So you've gone for a real roller coaster of a journey. Like, where's your oldest son now? Is he here in Australia with you? Is he over in Argentina? What's gone on with him now?
I will give you a little bit of brief of that. I have to, another time I got again sick, very sick. And the doctor said to me, you need to change your life. You need to do something for you. You need to take a holiday. And I didn't know. Holiday for me means with my children. Holiday by myself, it didn't exist. So I decided, okay, I'm going to organize something and I'm going to take a holiday. But also my job was very stressful. So I took the risk. I decided to stop my job. Yeah, I left my job. I decided, okay, I'm going to find a way that Martin is well looked after. By that time, he used to stay Saturday and Sunday because I couldn't. I find that being in hospital, everything else was okay,
Yeah.
So I could go away.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough, though. You're right.
And I found a way, Federico, to be looked after. And I decided, okay, I'm going to visit a friend of mine, say, come to Australia. So I went, I came to here to study because I thought I need to do something. And by that time, I used to study English. So I thought I need to improve my English, even though my English hasn't improved so much.
Oh, your English is fine. Your English is fine.
So anyway, I came to Australia, and my friend was married, and her husband was very good friend of a guy that I met here. He used to come to their place to visit him then, maybe twice a week. And I was there. So he fell in love immediately when he saw me. But I thought, he's crazy. He was single. I say, I am a nightmare. I have a child very severely autistic. You don't want to get, I am divorced. I am a nightmare. You don't want to get involved with me. So he was quite sad about my response. But 15 days after I left Australia, he followed me. And I was in therapy. Yes, you are listening to me. He followed me to Argentina. And I was in therapy by that time. I'm in therapy. Come on, give it a try. He's here.
So he followed you all the way to Argentina?
Argentina.
Well, he's nuts. He's a crazy.
He was not. He was not.
But,
he recognized
but that's what you do.
He was not. And my therapist, come on, give it a try. Come on, enjoy the time. You don't have anything to lose, enjoy. So enjoy. 16 months later, we were married.
My gosh, wow.
So, and we dreamed that we were living half and half in Argentina and half here. And that, because by that time, the economy in Argentina was terrible. So my husband said, don't worry, once the economy settled down in Argentina, he didn't know by that time the history of Argentina, I will go to work there and we will settle down there.
Yeah.
However, that never happened.
Oh,
so wow. I lived between two countries. Federico, by that time, was 18 years old and Martin was 19, turning 20. And Federico stayed in the house where we were living. He was dating by that time as well with someone. He didn't want to come to Australia. And because I was going to live half and half, But then we realized we weren't rich. 7 years of living that way, it was impossible to sustain. So I have to sell my house. Federico moved to his girlfriend's house. But during those years, Martin has been kicked out from every place that he was. So I have to go and look after him, be even inside psychiatry, because they didn't, in the meantime, we were finding a place where he could go. So I have to look after him inside psychiatry. They only used to allow me to go when he was sleeping. So during the day, I have to be with him there, but I couldn't have him at home by myself.
Yeah.
It was better to have some people around me. So I lived a nightmare during those 7 years. But something beautiful came out of those 7 years.
Yeah.
After 21 years, I got pregnant. My third child. Never expected.
Wow.
A girl. A girl. After 2 boys, a girl.
Okay.
So anyway, I got pregnant. Camille came to life. However, the poor thing has to live a lot of nightmare. Hospital with me at the beginning of.
Oh wow! Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
hospital, everything with me. She wasn't living in the psychiatry when I was having someone looking after her. So
And how did your son
has to stay here?
And how did your son, your eldest son, react to you being pregnant and having a baby? Because he would have been, what, 20?
He didn't meet Camille until older. I couldn't present Camille.
Oh, okay.
It was too hard.
Oh, okay.
Wow. I did once. She was 1 year old, and we almost had a car accident. He grabbed my car and threw the key. He turned off and when I was driving. And we almost had an accident in an avenue. I have been protected. I don't know, believing in God, believing in whatever you believe. I have been all my life protected. And I feel like I have angels in my life. They were someone always there for me. Once I started identifying all of those people that they came to my life and they were helping me, I opened up my heart. I started to be totally me with them, and they were supporting me. Maybe some people came for 1 year, others for months, other people came for 5 years, whatever time. I was appreciating every people that came to my life. They were.
And I have to agree with you. I truly believe that people come and go in our lives, but they come into our lives. We are introduced into their lives, and they're introduced into our lives to support each other. They're a friend that will phone you, every week or whatever without fail, just to check that you're okay. They're a relationship that you have within your life that you may need to just support you through a certain period of your time, but it then just plays through and comes to an end because you have grown. And it's like when they say, you are in a relationship and you grow apart or whatever, because you've helped each other to grow by being in that relationship, but you're not necessarily supposed to be together for life. You're helping each other to move to the next stage of your life. Yes, to move forward.
Not living in the past. I stopped living in the past. I stopped judging people. I stopped judging people that hurt me. It wasn't serving me any purpose. I started living present today to tomorrow. Doesn't mean I forgot.
Yeah.
But I forgave.
Yeah.
And I wasn't living from yesterday. Or what I was more compassion to me about me making mistake, about me not being the perfect mother, about me not being the perfect perfect individual. I was starting to have more compassion, more love for myself, to accept myself as I was.
Yeah.
And this was big for me. So I started smiling. Everyone used to say, I don't know, how you deal with all of this? And you are always with the biggest smile. Because I was smiling to life. I was seeing challenge as opportunity to continue growing. I was seeing people in my life as a part of my growth as well. I was seeing everything as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. And it's like things that happen in your life that you don't want to have happen in your life, right? Like you didn't want an autistic child. You didn't want to nearly die and all of these things. But like you said, your eldest son is a gift to you because he's opened pathways to so many different things. And okay, you didn't really want to so you were in hospital for 10 days. Nobody does want to be in hospital. And I was in a very similar situation to you. Like, I had, when I left my son's father, I was discovered I had an irregular heartbeat. If I hadn't have got it checked and I hadn't have recognized that there was something wrong, then who knows? I mean, I was told by the doctors I could have had a stroke, I could have had a heart attack, I could have dropped dead, right? So at the end of the day, we called it early. I got something done about it. And same with yourself, you were 10 days in hospital, and the doctors had said to you, crikey, it was touch and go with you, but you're here. And it's the world sort of giving you a nudge, giving you an elbow and going, oi, stop stressing yourself out. It's sort of saying, hey, stop putting all this pressure on you. Stop stressing yourself out. Stop hiding all of your emotions or keeping everything. I feel that if you bottle all of the stress up and sort of act to the world as though everything is okay, and you don't go and get help, you don't go and seek therapy, you don't look after yourself, that stress has got to go somewhere, and it absorbs into your body and then explodes. And your body stops you.
Thank you. It was all of the year of not looking after myself, all of the year of wearing a mask, like I said, enjoying the best of me when I was suffering. I was in such a pain inside. However, when I went to hospital, I was already accepting myself, going through the emotion, but the body, it was in such a stress from previous that once Martin was in a care, I was able to relax completely.
Yeah.
And there is when
exactly. I think that's it, because your body then goes, right, okay, your body then starts to release the stress that you've been holding on to. Look, I mean, it's an amazing story where you've, the whole journey that you've come through, and now you've got 3 amazing kids, although they're mostly adults now.
2 granddaughters.
And 2 granddaughters. What can I say? Exactly. And I suppose you would do, because Federico's now your eldest son is 40, and Federico
30. Martin 40, almost 40, and Federico,
that's right, 38. So I mean, yes, exactly. And how old's your daughter now then?
17.
Wow, exactly. So are you now full-time in Australia?
I am full-time. Pandemic got me here. However, I go to Argentina. I used to go every year for 3 months. 2029, Martin wasn't well, so I was there 5 months. So it was like a gift, another gift. I was there for 5 months. I was 2 months and a half, and then I went another 2 months and a half. So I went twice so it was another gift. Look, then 2 years, and I am going this weekend.
Oh, cool.
This weekend for 3 months again to be with them there. It's going to be hard because this time Camille cannot go with me. Camille has been always missing a school. By year 12, she cannot miss a school. So unfortunately, she has to stay here, and that is the harder part.
And so,
but she's a very understanding girl.
Yeah. No, exactly. So what do you do with your time here in Australia now? What are you doing now? How is everything like worked through?
Well, I used to work here as a bookkeeper, and really I was from one job to the other. I remember one boss said to me, when you come back, you have the job for here for you. They always were offering me so much, but I couldn't continue working as a bookkeeper because I thought, I cannot do this to the people. I cannot do. I have to leave for 3 months, then come back, catching up with everything. It's not fair. I study bookkeeping because I used to do accounting in Argentina. So anyway, 2.5 years ago, I decided to become a life coach. I decided to do what I always wanted to do, to help parents with special needs kids, not to live what I went through, to start, becoming self-aware, to look after themselves, to tap into their emotions, to know their value, to start creating the life. We can create the life. Believe me, I am walking. Yes. I say, I walk the talk.
Yes.
Because we can create a beautiful life for ourselves.
And who better to tell these people than yourself? Because you've been through it. You understand their challenges.
And that is taking risk. Because sometimes I constantly, Claire, I was taking risks in my life to get a better life for me and for all of my kids. It was important for me to be myself and to be the best mother possible. I never are going to be perfect because I am imperfect.
Well, we're human at the end of the day. That's why I called the podcast what I called it, okay? Because it's about we're strong. We're single. Well, I'm single. You're not single because you were single, but exactly. But this is the thing, right? This is how life evolves and moves on. It's like we were single mothers. We are single mothers. So we're strong. We have to be strong. We've got to be strong for our kids to provide, all of those things. We're single. Some of us are, some of us aren't now. And we're human. So we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We are human. Well, maybe some of us are aliens, but I wouldn't know about those aliens. We don't know about aliens yet in this world, but we're human at the end of the day. And, nobody's perfect. But not being perfect is okay. It's what makes this world colourful. So that's what you do now for people then. You're basically there for parents of special needs kids to help counsel, give therapy, give direction and all of those sort of things.
To support and guide them, to find themselves, to find their identity, because we lose our identity. I used to call myself, I am the mother of Federico and Martin. But which is your name? Yeah. I am Martin and Federico moms. Nobody used to know. Graciela is my name. I lost totally my identity.
Well, because your focus was on the kids.
On the kids. So my work is to support and guide the parents to find their identity, to have clarity, to tap into their needs. Because we receive so much. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. So overwhelming, all of the therapy and NDS and all of those kind of things. The poor parents, really, they are already stressed about things outside, and also stress about the kids. So I help them to find clarity about what they want and what they need, according to design their unique life according to them, not according to the other, because one doesn't fit all. One autistic child is no, one attention deficit disorder child is not the same as the other. All we are all different human beings. I am different to you. You are different to me. Your child is different to my children. We all are unique. So we need to create our life according to us, not according what the people tell us.
No, or some
to
tick
tap
box
into
on
our
form.
heart. Here, the truth is here. We know. We need to trust ourselves.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The power is here.
So if somebody if somebody who's listening to this is going through this situation and wants to contact you or connect with you, how do they do that? How do they get in touch?
They contact me by email, graciela@gracefulcoaching.me.
Okay.
Then I have Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn account.
I'll put all of those in the podcasty blurb. So
yes.
Yeah.
And call Graceful Coaching. Graceful Coaching is the name of my company.
So they can search that on the Instagram and Facebook and things like that. Okay.
Or they can call me on 0421 614 356.
Okay. And do you have a website at all, or
no yet?
You do more through?
I need to create that website.
I don't have one either, so don't even. I know. Okay, all right, brilliant. So if people listening to this want to get in contact with you, just to talk about things that we've talked about on here, or they're in a similar situation and they'd like to, speak to you and all of that stuff, then I'll put all of that in the podcasty blurb and things. And look, I have one final question for you, although, I'm not sure you'd be, everything that you've done is sort of a superpower in itself. But like I normally ask people, like, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Be myself. Is vulnerability. Vulnerability is the superpower. It's be me. Be me without excuses.
Wow,
and
I was going to say
me as I am. And flow from there. I am not perfect. So this is the power. Once we start showing up as us.
No, that's a perfect. I'm even when I was asking the question, I was like, well, the things that you've been through, it's like you're superhuman anyway. So I was just like, This is sort of a silly question to ask you in a way. But look, thank you so much for telling me and the listeners like your journey, telling us all about it, because it's like it's an emotional roller coaster to have to go back and go through everything, because it's been such a hard journey for you as such, and thank you for sharing it with us, because it's your journey, and you were willing to share it with us and tell us all about it.
You're welcome. It has been a beautiful. Now going back, if you say to me, will I change anything, Claire? No, I am who I am. Thank to my children. My children are my maestros. They have taught me so much. So really, I wouldn't change anything. It has been challenging. Oh, yes. Have been painful. Oh, my goodness.
Well, yes, exactly.
But then change anything.
You wouldn't be who you are today and be here and have the husband that you've got and your fantastic kids and all of that stuff if you hadn't been through it all. And
you know what is the best gift? Is my son gave me a gift. I received it with an open heart. And now I am helping others. I am contributing from that gift. And that in a way is coming back to me again. Can you see?
Yeah, a big
And
circle.
coming back to my son, give me a goosebump again. Coming back to my son. My son gave me the gift. I passed to other. That come back to him in a way because I am doing something.
Yeah.
I am doing something to help this.
Yeah, no, you are. No, and it's an awesome job that you're doing. It really is. And I know because one of my friends is one of the people who comes and sees you. And she's you're just such a godsend and a help for her. So it's great. Look, thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. I'm going to say thank you, and we need to call the interview to an end because I know you've got a meeting to go to. I have a meeting to go to.
Absolutely.
So, and it's okay. Look, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for this fabulous
No, that's
time.
okay.
Thank you so
That's
much.
all right. And we will speak again, no doubt.
Thank you. Have a beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you would like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content you want to hear just like this. If you want to check out our past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one is perfect. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.